Well, good morning. This is Hero. Okay, what are we doing today? Well, what do we see? We see three olives and it's sitting on a cart. So it must be cart full of olive day. Anyway, today is the tail end of July. I think we got another week left or so. It's been quite warm, but not extreme like we had a few times before. We're not breaking any records, it's just normally warm. Okay, so I just need to take care of these. And so let's just go ahead and get started. Well, these are in relative good shape. Mostly all the sucker growths at the base. I think if I get rid of that you'll see that it's been fairly well maintained, especially for being around here. Olives have a tendency to sucker at the base. And it seems like no matter how many times I take it off, it comes right back. Now, if I was in the stage where I want to fatten this area, I would leave these longer. The more you leave it, the fatter this area becomes. But I think I'm at the point now where I should just concentrate on getting this to a nice finish. So basically, nothing fantastic, just work. A lot of bonsai is nothing but just working and kind of on the mundane side because you have to do it over and over again. Now, if you're retired or you got a stressful job, and then bonsai could be a very relaxing hobby. But as a business, you can't take the time to enjoy like that. Okay, so you can see that most of it was taken out. Now, having done that, though, you see these little ones here, they're going to continue to grow. So probably within another month, it'll probably look the same. So after cleaning up the base, there's really not that much. See, these that gets long, gets taken out. Maybe this one we don't want it so tall. Same here. So this, what we're doing today, is just about maintenance and refinement, but not restyling. There's a few these brown leaves in here. As long as the tips are not turning brown, the tips when these shoots come out, like if these were turning brown, then you have a serious problem. But if it's on the inside, that's usually the old leaves falling off. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that at all. See how it just kind of comes out clean? Now I should make sure my apex, yeah, so it's starting to look like it should, right? So I think pretty well done with this one. After I took those off, it looks like there's not much to do, right? So cut these long ones. And you notice how tight these leaves are? It's small and compact. Well, a couple of ways to do that is one, leave it in full sun, which this is. And usually what you try to do is keep it confined in the same container as long as you can without it getting unhealthy. So a good bonsai with nice tight foliage is usually slightly on the root bound side. Not to the point where it's unhealthy, but don't keep putting in fresh soil all the time, because that refreshes and invigorates your plant so the leaves get bigger. So that's kind of on the tricky side. Exactly what does that mean? Well, you're gonna have to play by ear. You lose a few, you wreck a few, then you say, aha. So I don't have any exact formula for that, but that's sort of the basic principle. Okay, so, you know, what I'm looking at is, wow, I wonder if in the future we could split this off and make it into 2 singles. But like I said, today's project is just about maintenance. So you could see that the top was fairly well maintained through the summer. It's just that it's so vigorous that all these shoots came out. So looks like this is kind of done. Yeah, those of you that really have a lot of time, you could spend a lot more time getting this all cleaned up and trying to prevent the next one to grow back. But for me, I think this is good enough. This one, the same, just a lot of sucker growth. So we'll take these off. So this too, not much up on top. Some of these grew. See, once you get to this stage, you already know what the style is, and all you have to do is maintain and develop and refine it. So that's easy. To get here, it's a fairly long process and requires the eye and to visualize the future. Okay, this one here of the 3 is relatively young. It's got a big trunk, but up here it doesn't have the refinement of the other 2. And so I'm thinking that either I dug this out, or no, it has to be, it can't be a split, because usually there's a flat side. So I'm thinking that I probably found this growing wild on my property, and then I dug it out. So anyway, I think in the future, when it cools down and maybe after rains, although olives can be worked in the very hot months too. But I do have olives growing wild all over my property. Unfortunately, the property I'm talking about is 20 acres. So yeah, it's not going to be a simple job just taking my little shovel and digging it out. I'll probably need to bring power saws, because some of these are like 20, 30. I think there's one big one, if I get around to it. I think it's more than 40 feet tall. So we're talking about chainsaws, pole pruners, and then the backhoe. So I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to it, but I've been thinking that I should take you on the tour of the nursery when I go collecting olives. See, so if you look in here, it is a little bit abrupt in terms of transition. That's why I'm thinking that this was probably dug out. Actually, you might have already seen it before. I don't know. I make so many of these that I can't remember what I've done. Okay, that concludes the cart full of olives in July. So I'll put these back on the bench, and they will be in full sun no matter how hot it gets out here. And so if you live in an area that gets extremely hot, olive is one of the great things to consider. So anyway, this is Hero saying goodbye. I'll see you again real soon in another chapter real soon. Let me talk a little bit about acclimation. What happens is everything here is grown in this hot and fairly cold winters. So if you live in areas that are similar, it'd be great. If you live in somewhere that is milder, it's still pretty good. But if you were to find a tree you liked in a mild weather and you take it back to extreme, you need to make sure you get it acclimated. That means that through the first summer or whatever the season is, make sure that you don't put it in like the full sun. If this olive came from, let's say, San Francisco, probably shouldn't put it in full sun until at least next year. Conversely, if you're from San Francisco and buying one of my trees, it's no big deal because it's just going from extreme to mild. Okay, so that's just a simple concept of acclimation.